I'm going to start all this recording. Hi, Katie. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Gray.
Hello.
Hi, Veronica. How are you? Good.
Good. How are you?
Excellent. Good. Well, so Carl De Silva is supposed to be here, but he's always late. So there you go. Is that a real bookshelf, Eric, or not?
Well, I'll leave that up to interpretation. Let's just say it can magically become the Wizard of Oz at a moment's notice.
You see this magical woman that appears over my shoulder? She doesn't exist.
Yeah.
She doesn't exist. I've got this thing set up because I've been running summer camps for my day job. They're all virtually, all on Zoom. And so I've got here. I'll show you my great background. Wait a minute. This is the background I use. How exciting. This is what's actually behind me. This is my home office, and I've got these ridiculous things behind me. So I hate that. So, that's much better. All right. Well, the subject of tonight actually is all because of Randy. Because, seriously. Because even though we have beaten the audition process into a dead pulp, Randy was not aware that we were doing these things. And she had a number of questions. And a few of them we actually have not addressed. So don't feel bad that we are going back over auditions. But I also want to make sure you know that tonight is really kind of loose. So we don't have to stick with auditions. We have talked about auditions a lot. The lady appearing behind me is really freaking me out. So we can talk about anything theater tonight. Randy, since you're the newbie here, the best way I found to make this work is if you have a question, simply ask me. Send me a chat, okay? And that way we don't have everyone talking all at once. And look at this, we got Ray Cohen here. Hey, Mom, how are you? It's good to see you. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about auditions, but if you do have any other questions, please feel free to send me a chat and I will address it. That way everyone's not talking at once. And it also gives me a delusional feeling of power, which I sorely miss, having not had a chance to direct for a while. So the first question is, what are your thoughts about monologues during auditions? Do you want to take it, Ken?
Well, my view is kind of different than most people, as usual. I don't care for monologues at auditions. They take up too much time. I want to hear the auditionee read the material from the script so I can envision them playing the part or not. And I don't need to listen to a whole monologue to find out whether they can act or not. It's a simple process, whether you can be interesting on stage and can put two words together intelligently. So I don't care for monologues.
Well, here's a shocker, Kent.
What?
We agree.
Oh, no.
I know, the world is coming to an end.
Oh, no.
So my whole feeling about monologues is they tell you nothing about the actor's creativity. You have no idea who has coached the actor in the monologue, how much time they've taken to work on it and perfect it. um, really all you know is what a monologue tells you is if someone can memorize,
Right.
which is a valuable thing to find out. But you also don't know how long they've taken to memorize it. And unless you have the hard copy in front of you, you don't know if what they're saying are the right words. So it really doesn't tell you a whole lot. The only time I ever use monologues for an audition is for Shakespeare, because it's unfair to make someone cold read Shakespeare. So it really, yeah, here's the other side of it. Every actor should have about 4 monologues prepared, because there are people, unlike Kent and I, who really like them. And particularly if you might be auditioning for a series of plays, they might be asking for a monologue because they don't want you reading, like Kent said, from every play to see what part you're right for. So it's a really good thing to prepare. And honestly, when we're locked down, when theaters are closed, why the hell not? It's a great thing to work on. It'll hone your skills. But as far as the value of it at an audition, yeah, I agree with Ken. It doesn't tell me much. And Kent's right. In a cold reading, you know pretty much within the first, what would you say, Kent, 10 seconds?
Yep.
Yeah. If somebody really is going to do something with the part. Eric says, why do you think directors want them at auditions? It makes the prep for the audition a lot easier. You don't have to pick your own scenes. And like I said, if you are auditioning an actor for a rep season for several shows, it makes sense, because you kind of get the feeling of their stage presence. And if you're doing Shakespeare, absolutely it makes sense, because you want to see how they interpret the text. But beyond that, who knows? Katie asks, when you were acting, did you have a challenging experience with a director that has made you more mindful while working with your cast? Oh boy. Well, I was directed by this ass named Ken Johnson once.
Wait a minute. I resemble that remark.
No, Kent's a joy. Yeah, I mean, every time I work with another director, number one, it makes it really, really hard when you are confident as a director to be directed by somebody else. It's very difficult. And so I will be the first one to admit that. I work, when I'm acting in a show, I would say I'll be kind to myself, a good 25% of my energy goes to keeping my mouth shut, because I'm very mindful of people that I've directed who are directors who can't change the hat that well. And that makes it for a very difficult rehearsal period. So I go out of my way to just do what I'm being told to do. And there are times that I will walk away at the end of a rehearsal going, oh God, how am I going to make this work? Because it just doesn't feel right. But that's what you sign up for. You know, that's what you sign up for when you get a show. The director's the boss. And it's really, really important. But I've had people, no, to answer specifically, and then I'll let Kent talk, because this is a great story. The one thing I am supremely confident about is I know comedy. And I was in a show. I will not mention the show, and I will not mention the director. But I was playing a comic role. It was a musical. And no, Kent, it wasn't you. I swear to you, it wasn't you. But he was giving me some direction, and I was altering, let's say, altering the timing of it, because I felt that this would be funnier if I just took a pause here or there that would set up the joke. And in front of the cast during the rehearsal, he stopped and pretty much ripped me apart and proceeded to, and this is a quote, explain comedy to me.
Ooh.
Let me explain comedy to you, Greg. That was the quote, and I still remember it, and it was years ago. And what that did for me as a director was, when I have a moment of frustration with an actor, and over the years I've had many, I will never dress them down in front of the rest of the cast. I will talk to them aside, and we will come to an understanding, or we won't, and then that ends that relationship. But I will never humiliate an actor in front of the rest of the cast. How about you, Kent? What's the lesson you learned? What horrible thing did I do to you while I was directing you?
One thing I learned is never to cast you in a play.
Thanks.
Life is difficult enough. Yeah. No, you've got to treat everybody nicely. Nobody's in this to get rich. It's all a hobby. It's a thing we do for fun. And if we're not having fun out there, we may as well go home and watch television and get depressed. So, be nice to everybody, and you'll have a good show.
This is frightening. Kent and I are agreeing more tonight than ever.
It'll never happen again.
It'll never happen again. Thank God I'm recording this. Anyway, do you see moving towards video submissions? I will say one short thing, and then I'll give it to Kent. God, I hope not. Okay, Kent, video submissions.
God, I hope not. No, I've been playing around with Zoom with different formats, trying to get my acting group that I'm working with now on regular Zoom productions. I don't care for it. I spent 30 years as a television producer director, and I don't need this to continue. I do theater because it's a hobby and it's fun. And so we have to find a way, everybody listen to this, to get our audiences back. And the sooner the better, of course. But I've got a plan, if anybody wants to hear it, how to survive until then without using Zoom, without using video of any kind. It's pretty tricky what I have to offer. Everybody ready? Does everybody have a pencil?
Ray clapped,
Paper?
so that's the go-ahead sign.
Good. Veronica, you get an A. Here's what I suggest. You do not remove any of the seats in the theater that you've been working in. Do not remove them. Instead, if you're only expecting small audiences, and we know you are because they have to be socially distant, then fill the seats that are vacant in between 2 or 3 seats that are going to have to be vacant before you put a paying customer in. Do you follow what I'm saying? Say yes, Kent.
What are you filling them with?
Pay attention, Greg.
I have this image of dummies in the audience. So
You
yes.
got it, Greg. Dummies in the audience. My suggestion is to make a dummy and put it in each seat in between the paying customers. Now, the dummy.
This is either the most brilliant or the creepiest idea I've ever heard.
This is very creepy. Listen, would you shut up?
Oh, go ahead.
This is very serious shit.
I'm sure
Okay.
it is. I'm sure.
All right.
Yes.
All right. The dummy can be, would you stop laughing?
I can't. Go for it.
The dummy can be a cardboard cutout, bungeed to the seat with a cardboard head. Do you follow me so far?
I'm right with you.
Greg, you're almost a fully grown man. You should be able to follow
I got
this.
I got this.
Right. On the head, take a picture of your fellow actors, Kaisa, me, all of your friends, 8x10 glossy, head and shoulders, head only. Blow it up and put it on this dummy so it looks like we are sitting in those seats. So every 2 seats, you've got a picture of one of your friends applauding. I did a play once called not Noises Off, Footlight Frenzy. Anybody familiar with Footlight Frenzy?
I am.
We
not.
did it at Newport, Ray.
Right.
We did it at Newport, and Ray produced it. And the gimmick with Footlight Frenzy was that the audience was looking at the actors' backs as they performed on stage, looking the other way, upstage. You remember this, Ray?
Mm-hmm.
And on the back wall of Newport Theater Arts Center, I painted an audience on the back wall, okay? And of course, I couldn't resist it, so I had them applauding, I had them screaming, different facial expressions. And I even took wood and made a hand like this for each one and put a white glove on it. Then I put another hand like this that would move, okay? So someone would move this stick and all of these hands in this row would go like this. And the audience fell down laughing. It was pretty funny stuff. All right, so we use dummies instead of an audience. And if you do this for your vacant seats, you will have everybody talking about your theater, how stupid you are, and how clever you are to never be playing to empty houses. You'll always have a full house. You still won't have any money, but I don't know what other but, except the actors will love it because they'll look out there and they won't see an empty seat. And the answer to your next question, Greg, is no.
I I don't know what my next question was, Kent.
I know you don't.
No, actually, my next question was, I actually, I think that's a really fun idea. That's as far as the audience goes. My question is how to keep the actors safe at this point.
Oh,
And
that's
backstage crew.
that's the trickiest part. A director has to know how to socially distance actors. I'm going to be directing a production of The Mikado down in Sacramento, probably in another month. And I'm going to have to socially distance my whole cast.
Big cast.
Well, I think I'm going to cut the cast down to about 12 for The Mikado. So that means just a chorus of 6 people.
Okay.
But I've got some tricky stuff going of being able to augment the vocal choral parts to make it sound like they're more than 12. Okay. Also, along with this scheme of mine is the fact that your sound person has to augment the applause. Whenever the audience of 30 people applauds, the sound person has to make it sound like 100 or whatever, okay? So you augment every applause. Trust me when I tell you I've done this before, probably for a show that you were in, Greg.
I'm sure you needed to.
And the audience doesn't know it, okay? Because the sound is coming out of the speakers and they're busy applauding too. So there you go. It worked, trust me.
The question here is coming from Eric. What do you think about having actors wear masks on stage that have clear coverings over the mouth so you can see facial expressions?
Nope.
I mean, it'll be interesting, but my thought is it would have to be a plexiglass covering, which would muffle the sound. It would be very odd. I mean, it's certainly something to look at, you know, but yeah, I think as far as vocals go, it would make it really, really tough.
Never work.
Yeah.
No.
You could do a show that requires masks. I mean, like, you know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, MASH, you know, a doctor show that you could do something like that.
No, Greg, no.
Hey, you've got the dummies in the audience. I could be doing the doctor show.
I guess this is true.
Yeah, but as far as video submissions go, going back to that, if they're video submissions, I mean, I've done them. A lot of places require you to send in a video submission for a show, particularly if you are auditioning for something across the country. The fact of the matter is, acting for video and acting for stage are completely different animals, and they don't translate well. I would have a hard time casting a show from video submissions, just because there's a feel you get when you're in person, and that's the feel I want from the actors on stage. And I've worked with plenty of actors who are basically film actors, and I spend most of my time telling them bigger, 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 which is a huge waste of time.
Yeah.
In a rehearsal. So yeah, once again, we need to figure out how to make live theater work again.
That's right.
That's what we need. There will always be ways around film production, television production. They've got wonderful film magic where people can act with other people without being in the same room. You can't do it on stage. And I think you need contact on stage. So that makes it tough. You know, there are plays that you can certainly do. There are going to be a huge amount of productions of love letters out there. I'm positive of that. Everyone's going to want to do love letters. You know, okay, we'll put you on this side of the stage, you on this side of the stage. You read the script. There you go. It's great. And it's a good play, so why not? There are a lot of good plays like that, and I think maybe that's going to be the beginning of coming back. But boy, I look forward to working with like a small group as opposed to a pair of people or a single person.
We're going to just have to write new material. The people right here looking at each other could get together and begin to form a new kind of play that would entertain people. I've been working with a group here where I borrow comedy routines and then teach the routines to the group, which usually a routine is 2 or 3 or 4 people at the most. And then I put it all together into a 30-minute program that we do. So there's a way that you can fashion and write new material. That I'm writing new material all the time for this. You know, it's mainly intros and clever little segues to get from one to another. But we've got to put our thinking caps on and come up with something unique for our groups. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, here's a good one. I actually highlighted the ones I wanted to go through because you gave me way too many questions, Randy. If an auditionee has checked off the roles in which they're interested and you see that they may be a better fit in another role, are you open to asking them to be flexible? Have you actually cast in that manner? I'll start. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. I've always told people when they take my workshops, I tell people to have a realistic vision of themselves, but don't close off possibilities because someone might see something in them that they don't see in themselves. And there have been plenty of times I have cast somebody who is maybe not the type that we're used to seeing in a role. But they have a quality that would fit the role and they didn't see it. I've had plenty of people, you know, when I say, are you sure these are the only roles you want? That's usually the way I approach it. I don't want to say, you know, you didn't mark down this role. Would you like this role? Because I don't want to get into that kind of a situation. But I will ask if they are really closed to taking any other role because I think there are others that might fit them better. And I have had plenty of people say, no, I'm not interested in any other one, which is very odd to me. How about you, Kent? I'm sure over the years you've cast people.
Usually on the audition form, there's a box that you can check will you accept other roles, and that tells you something.
But if they say no to that, what do you just let it go?
No, absolutely, let them go, because people might have other shows they want to audition for rather than yours. If they don't get that part, they want to go try for some other show, and that's fine. I don't need them in the cast if they are uncomfortable being there. So
But would you approach them about it?
no,
Interesting. Okay.
no.
Good. Now we're back on the same track. Now we disagree with each other. But thank
I
God.
I
Oh,
just kick
good.
them out, tell them they'll never work in Orange County again, and their history. Go be a dentist.
Oh, Lord. So, two directors, two different things. I I certainly take the will you accept any other role seriously, and I would never think of just casting them in a role that they did not ask for without first asking them
Yeah.
about it. But but if I think that they would be really, really good for a part, I found that a lot of actors really have a terrible, I don't mean this, a terrible self-image of themselves. And I don't mean they don't think enough of themselves. I mean, they don't really have a valid reality of what they are or who they are or how they come across. And I think a lot of times as a director, you look and you say, wow, that person said they wanted this part and they are totally wrong for that part, but they're really, really good. And I would really, really like them in this show. And at that point, I will definitely talk to them. And then, yeah, Kent's absolutely right. Sometimes that is the part they want, and they are not interested in being in the show. It's just doing that part. And that's a very valuable thing to know at auditions. You don't want to find that out later. Did that answer the question? Good. Okay. What is this one? This follows. I think we kind of answered this. Are you a risk taker when it comes to casting? If everything is equal, an actor with whom you had never worked with before versus an actor with whom you had worked with before, would you ever choose the newbie? Have you ever known everything to be equal?
No.
I think that's that's the problem with that. If you're really paying attention to an actor in an audition, you're never going to have two people that are equal. Someone's always going to edge the other person out because there's going to be something that fits better. But having worked with somebody before is not necessarily the thing that edges them out. For me, if someone's worked with me before, they can't skate at an audition. They need to be better. They need to surprise me at the audition. It's always the element of surprise in an audition for me. I like to be surprised at an audition. And if I've worked with somebody several times, it's harder to surprise me. I know what they give me. And the ones that keep surprising me are the ones that keep getting cast. So, Kent, all things being equal.
Yeah, they never are. I don't know. I like to cast what I think will work best for the show, and whether it's somebody is new or not. I don't care about that, except I will cast the person time after time that gives great performances and is very dependable and always has their lines learned and is fun to work with. And, you know, I'll just go on and on. Brad Miller, Scott Ratner, these guys, very dependable and always deliver. They know how to entertain an audience. And a lot of people don't. They think because the words are in the script that that's all that they have to bring to the table. No, you got to know how to communicate to an audience. And I've got a couple of rules that I try to drill into people about communicating to audiences. And we can get into that later if you want. So
Yeah, it's the funny thing is that I've got a certain, I'd say a pretty wide group of people that I like to get into my shows if they fit. Um, I don't precast. I say that a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people don't believe it, but I don't. Um, but there are people that get in my shows consistently. The funny thing is, I would say there are more people that get in my shows in small to supporting roles than there are the leading characters.
really,
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of what you just said, those there are people that just excel in these supporting roles, and they work as hard as any lead actor, if not harder, and they're incredibly dependable. And I have had more troubles with casting people I don't know in supporting roles who lose interest, who decide this wasn't worth it. So I'm a little skittish about that. But yeah. So I would say while Kent was talking, I was listening, Ken. But while he was talking, I was trying to think back over the way it's worked out, and I would say more often than not, it's a supporting role. So people will say, "Oh, I saw him in another one of Greg's shows," that kind of thing. Let's move on. Let's see. I love this one. If you have other people on your side of the table, how much of their input into the casting process influences you? Have you ever been overruled by a member of the theater's board or the producer? I'll let you answer that one first, Ken.
I can't remember ever being overruled.
I can't either.
That would have been pretty unusual. I've had conversations where they've said, well, we'd really like it if this person could, because they've donated a lot of money to our theater, and aren't they wonderful actor, and but that doesn't happen very often. If a person shows up and auditions, that shows a certain commitment right off the bat, that they drove to the theater, that they know something about the play, that they are willing to commit to the rehearsal schedule and so forth. So I cherish each person that auditions. It's just that you can only cast so many, and it has to fit the production. So I will get advice from Kaisa or Tim. Certainly they've given me advice on their expertise. This guy is a better dancer than that guy, or this guy's a better singer than that guy. But the director has to have the vision for the show. The vision has to come out of the actors that are chosen, the set that's in front of the audience, and all of the elements that go into it have to be filtered through one brain and one brain only. And that's the director's brain. Good, bad, or whatever, that's the way it's done. It's not a committee. It has to filter through one brain finally. So the buck stops there, as our president is learning. And
We're not talking politics.
I know. But that's the way it is. And I know I put in lots and lots of homework before auditions to get myself ready to even talk about the play and so forth. So I'm not sure that all directors do, however. I've seen some productions that reflected that. So anyway.
I agree with that. As far as I'm concerned, I agree with one part of what Kent said, which is,
Oh, thank God.
yeah, the buck stops here. I always make the final decision about the cast. I do, however, when I have people behind the table with me, and I usually have some people behind the table with me, I love to hear their takes on everybody. My feeling is, my vision, I know who I like, but I want to hear if there is something that might be annoying about a person to another audience member, that might be more endearing about somebody, if someone just feels this connection. I think that's really important to know. I also rely heavily on my producers to fill in information that I may not know about somebody.
Exactly.
If there's somebody who's worked at a theater and has repeatedly auditioned really well, but not paid off in a performance, which happens a lot.
Right.
I want to know about that, because if someone blows me away at auditions and I hear that's what you're going to get, if that's okay, that's what you're going to get.
Right.
I will tend to pull back a little bit.
Right.
So I do take other people's opinions, other people's knowledge that I don't have deeply into effect. But I've never been told, when I say this is who the cast is, I've never been told, no, you can't do that. I do like, I don't know if you've ever done this, Kent, but I really, really like to make my cast list. And if Kaisa's behind the table with me, or if, my producer's there, I have them cast the show as well. And we just compare. I would say 9 times out of 10, we agree.
Yeah. No, I've never done that.
It's kind of fun. It's actually kind of fun. And if there is like a major disagreement, I like to know why.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm the first one to say I may miss something. There might be something that someone is doing repeatedly. Speaking of people's expertise, I like Kaisa behind the table with me, because whereas I kind of go toward the feel that an actor is presenting, Kaisa is very physically oriented, and there are little repetitive motions that some actors do that I don't notice right away. but she picks up on that kind of thing really fast. And you know, her opinion is, if that person does that through an entire show, the audience will be waiting to kill them by the end of it. It may not keep me from casting them, but it starts me out with a feeling of, okay, I know what I have to work on here.
Yeah.
So that kind of conversation is valuable. Piscatelli shows up in the last few minutes. I'm impressed. Good. I was wondering. I thought, you know, you'd gotten the COVID there. Okay, cool. Does an actor's education training influence your casting decision? No. Not for me. Unless it's reflected in their performance. You know, but I'll tell you, tell me this, Kent. Do you pay a lot of attention to the resume?
I read it very quickly because I don't have much time to consider
Oh, you've got
it.
years ahead of you, Kent. Don't worry about that.
Wow.
What is interesting is if I see on the resume a production that they claim they were in and played the lead that I directed, and they weren't in the production. That's happened to me twice.
Thank you.
And that's a no-no.
It's not only a no-no, it's incredibly stupid to not do the research. If you're gonna lie, lie well.
Listen to Greg, everybody.
Yeah, that's incredibly stupid. No, I this is what I look at on a resume. I skip over training. I totally skip over training because I figure if they've studied with someone brilliant and it's rubbed off on them, their audition will reflect it. I've known a lot of people that have studied with brilliant teachers, and it hasn't helped them. So that doesn't do anything for me. What I look at, number one, yes, thank you, Kent. I scan the list of productions to see if one of them is mine, and if I recognize the person. Michael just showed up, and Kent, you weren't here when I talked about this in an earlier roundtable, but he and I were, he was producing a show, I was directing it up in LA, and we were taking photo submissions. And one of the young ladies that sent in her picture, on her resume, it said that she was in A Few Good Men at Huntington Beach Playhouse. And I'm the only one that's ever directed that at Huntington Beach Playhouse. And I know you're familiar with the show. There's only one female part, and she was obviously not the woman that was in the show. Michael was in the show. That's when I met him. And we almost called her into the audition just to rip her apart. But yeah, it wasn't worth it. What we did? Turn on your mic, Mike.
We did, and to annoy her, we called her back. That was a long drive.
Oh, so cruel.
Yeah, it's cruel, but it was worth it.
Shame on you, Mike.
But yeah, we were going through the pictures, and the two of us looked at each other thinking, have we gone insane? This is not the woman that was in my show. Anyway, so I do scan through that. This is what I really look at for the resume. I look at what's under special skills. I think what people decide to put down for a special skill is very telling. And if it's something really, really odd, you bet that I'm going to ask them to do it, because an audition can be very long and tedious, and seeing a really bizarre special skill is just really entertaining. And if they're willing to do it and able to do it immediately, that scores a lot of points with me. Obviously, they can get them cast if they're not right for a part. But, you know, it's fun to look at. But that's about the only thing valuable I see on a resume. Because let's face it, as we said, a resume can be totally made up. I will say this, when I moved to Southern California from Northern California and had done several shows down here, I had a big celebration the day that I could remove the last fudging bit of information on my resume. I've never outright lied on a resume, but I have fudged the information.
Greg,
That's the only reason Kent cast me.
I am so disappointed to hear that. Shame on you.
I'm being honest. I'm totally honest there. But I did. I had a big celebration. I went, my resume's real. Yay, yay. Oh, so talking about resumes. What about a canceled show? Do I still get to put Max and producers on my resume? That's a really good question, Eric. You know what I would do? I would, because getting cast in it and being part of the rehearsal process counts, but I would definitely say canceled because of COVID prior to opening. I would make it completely honest. But it's a good question. We're in a new world. Questions that shouldn't have need to come up. You know, obviously, if you're in a production that has been canceled, not COVID related, but because they will do anything to keep you off the stage, I would not mention that on a resume. If an actor has experience with Shakespeare or other classical writers, does that influence your casting decision? If we're doing Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's like if someone's got experience doing musicals and they're trying out for a musical, they're probably going to audition better for it because they're confident. Right, Ken? You do more musicals than I do.
Well, it depends upon the style of the play.
Right.
If you're doing a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, you don't need classical training to run around like Pseudolus. Okay.
You need a comedian.
As you well know, you directed that. But if you're doing Man of La Mancha, Don Quixote has to have a classical style to him. And so that kind of background would be helpful. So it depends upon the show.
Yeah. It's all good. Having as much experience in as many different kinds of theater as possible is good. You know,
Sure.
being comfortable with whatever a director might throw at you. That's essential. I've got time for one more question. And this is an excellent one. Here we go. Ready? If after an audition, an actor asks you, why did you not cast me? What did I do wrong? Or how could I have done better? 3 different questions, by the way. Are you open to providing constructive feedback other than you were fine? I chose to go in a different direction. I'll let you take it first, Kent. You're the guest.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, just to answer as honestly as you can, and being nice about it. You don't have to tell the person that they suck. To stay out of show business, never get on a stage again. You know, you don't have to tell them that. Just be nice and encourage them to come back to the next audition.
Yeah, I think most actors are teachers at heart, and I'm always open to talking to somebody after an audition. Probably not immediately after the audition, but I'll say, give me a call, send me an email, something like that, and we can talk. But let's face it, it has a lot to do with their attitude. If they come up and say, "Why didn't you cast me?"
Yeah.
And I've had that happen. My response in that case was, because of that.
Yeah.
Because I picked up something about their attitude during the audition, and they proved it to me afterward.
Yeah.
Luckily, that's only happened once. But if someone comes up and says, "Is there a reason you didn't cast me?" I'm more than happy to tell them. And Kent's right. You got to temper it. I mean, there are some people that you don't cast because, God, they're just not good. And you don't want to say that. We've said it over and over again. People are doing this for fun. And you can't just crush someone like that. And I won't say that if someone comes up and asks that and I say, I just decided to go in a different direction. A lot of times it's because they're not good. But there are times that I tell people that it's like, it's really true.
Hi, Stan.
Hi, Stan.
That's got to be Stan.
Hey, Kent, how are you?
Hi, buddy. God, you're looking great, buddy.
Well, it's a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah.
Take care of my conversation.
It's okay. And just really quickly, Veronica, you've listed you worked on a show but couldn't finish the production. Absolutely. I mean, if a production was up and running and it ended, like Noises Off did, damn right you list that. Yeah, you did the work. If you have one performance, you've done a performance. I mean, that was a show, whether it was supposed to be one performance or 5 weeks, that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to finish up with that last question, and it's why we do these. It's why I really wanted to do these roundtables, because there are people that have that question. And it's really important for them to understand that they may put out an incredible audition and not get cast. And what I always start with in that case is, I couldn't cast you in this show because someone felt better in the part than you did, but you damn well better be back in my auditions. And I make sure they know that, because you really don't want someone walking away saying, "Oh, I blew it." Because I don't know, I'm terrible with percentages, but I would say 85% of the time it's not that the actor blows it, it's just that they're not right. And it may be a little lower, I don't know, I'll be generous. But I would say, really, out of all the years I've been doing this and all the people that I've had audition for me, a very small percentage has been just uncastable. It's just, they're not right for that show.
Yep.
So, and that brings us to the end of our evening tonight. Kent?
May I say one thing?
No, Ray. I asked you to be here before and you wouldn't do it. Yes, please, Ray.
Well, I wanted to say that Kent Johnson was my mentor, and he taught me how to do theater. And I'm not an actor, I'm not a director. He taught me how to run a theater. So I thank him very much.
Thanks, Ann.
Go.
It's worth saying. That's great. And Kent, I will say this too. I love you. And
Thank you.
I'm so glad that we've been able to reconnect through these things. That is just really cool to me. Kent and I have known each other for years, and I thank Kent for introducing me to my lovely wife. So,
That's because she turned me down first.
what are you saying? Everyone turned you down first.
This is true. Story of my
Anyway,
life.
thank you all
Greg,
for being here. Yes,
let me make a suggestion.
you
The
may.
background that you have up, the
Yes.
theater background,
Yes.
don't smile. This is serious. The ghost light that is now over your right shoulder, yes, is bright, and we have to look at that. Can you get another picture that doesn't have a light shining in our eyes? I'm serious, you
Kent,
twit.
it's a symbol of hope.
It's a ghost light, you dummy.
It's a ghost light saying the theaters are closed now, but they're ready to reopen. It's a symbol of hope. I will get a totally dark theater. How's that for you, Ken?
No,
I will find. Wait, hold on for a minute. Hold on. Okay, before we go. Happy?
much better.
Okay. For you, anything. Anyway,
Got
thank you all for being here tonight. We'll be back next Sunday talking about something, theater, like something like that. It's good to see all your faces. Ray, I'm so glad to see you here. Thank you for showing up. I know you came just for your mentor, but I will accept your presence anyway.
For you.
Anyway, everyone, thank you so much. Take care of yourselves.
Bye, Randy.
And Randy, thank you for joining us too.
Yeah.
Love it. And thanks for the wonderful questions. There. Most of these questions came from Randy. So there you go. Thanks for finally making it here, Michael. I appreciate it. Okay. And for all of my stalwarts, good to see you again.
Have
See
a
you
good
next
night.
week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ken.
Bye.